Can I just say what a crock of crap these Polaris four-wheelers are? I am terribly sorry. I've been a Polaris guy my whole life. Used to buy a new snowmobile every couple years. You can see I just drove out forward. You can see the water line on the clutch. Just barely got under there. You can see it back there. Just a little bit of water in 3 seconds. All I did was back in. You can see I just backed into the water and drove out just at that depth. That was enough to flood the clutch cover. I love these Mudlight tires. They are absolutely awesome. But the four-wheeler itself, by the 8-hour mark, I already had to get a new battery, which the dealer happily warranted. The battery failed. It had an intermittent, even after the new battery, it had an intermittent drain. So one day you'd go to use it and the battery would be dead. The next day you go to use it and the battery would be fine. It has a stall issue. It's a 2016, third year that this machine was out. And every once in a while, if you're plowing snow, is the most common, is you drive into the snow pile, you let off the throttle, the engine braking system, you know, kicks in and boop, and the engine stalled. And then you'd back up and you'd let off the throttle quick and boop, the engine would stall. The fit and finish is kind of horse crap. My brother had a Can-Am 570. You know, this is 2017. I'd like to believe we could manufacture something that fits a little better than that. And then the snorkel for the belt drive system and the air intake engine are under the seat here, and they vibrate sometimes. I do like it because of the storage capacity, and Polaris does a great job of accessories. The engine, it's a single cylinder thumper. You can hear more than enough power. The four-wheeler, yeah, I mean, compared to our old Sportsman 500s, this thing is twice the machine as the old Sportsman 500 on that traditional chassis. We've had a few of the newer 800s in here, and they would tear some of the frame apart in the back for chasing cattle and whatnot. They would tear up some of that rear end just because they're built cheap. My brother's Can-Am 570 had a real car battery, a smaller car battery right under the seat. It was a twin cylinder, so it was tremendously smoother running engine than this. It had a little better get up and go. The fit and finish was 100 times better. That Can-Am was clearly a better machine than this, and he, at the 8-hour mark, he did not have it back to the dealer. The dealer did take the cover off, and they did say that everything looks fine, and I did ask them to silicone it when they put it back on, and this is the first time in a year that I drove into water and it leaked instantly, so clearly they did not silicone it back on. I'm just kind of, I for sure 100% will be looking at Honda or Bombardier. We have a fantastic Bombardier dealer. The Polaris dealer is a fantastic dealer. I have no qualms with the dealer, but I kind of have a lot of qualms as of Polaris as of late. You want me to get started on Polaris snowmobiles? Since 2003, they've kind of gone backwards, and since 2008, they had a lot of years there where they just flat out did not give a crap about the consumer, and they stuck with that POS 800 twin that I wouldn't even use it as a boat anchor because I'd be too scared that it would fail at that. But yeah, thank goodness for brand and blind loyalty, because they're staying in business. But this thing, I love the machine. I'm just so disappointed. So disappointed. In 2016, I don't think I'm being unrealistic that in the model year 2016 that we could have had a real battery, not that little tiller battery what comes on your tiny little lawnmower or your 5-horse Briggs & Stratton. I don't think fit and finish is a lot to ask, and I don't think reliability is a lot to ask. Polaris used to brag about America, and they built that big plant just south of us in Wyoming, Minnesota, which was supposed to be their Liberty thing. Fuji engines really put Polaris on the map, but I believe that this is a China engine. I'm pretty sure that's what the dealer told me, that it's a China engine, because I was asking about reliability of the new 570, if they fixed a lot of issues with the old Fuji 500. The old Fuji 500 was a great engine, but it had a weak valve train drive system to it and a couple other little quirks, but it was a good engine overall. You could get 10,000 miles out of the engine with no trouble. So I was asking about this engine, and he looked up on the parts book, and he said, well, it's a China engine, and if you blow up the top end, it's like $600 for a new piston and cylinder and head. I mean, for a few $100, you get a whole new engine other than the bottom end. That's not a bragging sales point, to me anyhow. Service on it is not the greatest. You have to sneak up in here to get to the engine oil filter. It's not the most convenient, it's not the worst, but you could do a lot better in 2016. The engine braking system is way too aggressive. I wonder if that belt is still wet. Put it in neutral and just let it roll that belt over. They did conveniently enough put a drain plug down in here. Let's I wonder if we can't drain it and see. Yeah, all for a couple seconds. Seconds of backing in. Kind of pathetic. But the engine braking for farm use is way too aggressive. You go to just come down to something and you let off the throttle. If you're pulling anything of a trailer and you completely let off the throttle when it gets to that last few RPM, it really locks the rear end up, and then the trailer pushes the rear end around. I am kind of tempted to take the primary clutch apart, because I think they had a Sprague clutch on that primary clutch. So when the primary opened up, the belt would drop down to that shaft, and really that's where your big braking system comes from. If you're going down a steep hill, the engine braking, you start to get this banging through the drivetrain of it holding back and then releasing, or the tires releasing and then catching again and release, catch and release, and you start to get this clickety clunk through the drivetrain. Other than that, it is a fantastic machine. It's got a comfy seat. Great storage, and that's about it. You should not have to be scared when you leave your yard with a four-wheeler if you're getting home. And that's kind of where I'm at. So in 500 miles, it's never been more than 5 miles from home in 500 miles. And so that's my Polaris 570 review.